If you're using ArtStudio for the first time, when you go to your room where you've just published your model, or if you share this link with anyone that hasn't used ArtStudio before, it'll show a really simple tutorial to help you get started. So I thought I'd share this with you so that you understand some of the basic features of ArtStudio and essentially know what would be involved with teaching anybody who's going to use the platform how it works. So we can hit begin. The interface to ArtStudio is really simple. It's simple enough that guests can be given a studio link, open the website on their phone or on their PC, and understand how to participate in a presentation without really any training. So if you're in the audience of a presentation, you've been given a link to a model, maybe it's a student project, and you want to listen to that student talk about the project and see what they're seeing, we have this button here called Follow. When you turn that button on, you see any shared views that are shared by anyone else in the studio. The Share View button, when you click on this, just broadcasts your camera position and what you're looking at. So if you're looking at an image and you click Share View, everybody else who is following views is going to see that image. You can share sketches in the same way. A sketch just lets you draw over whatever you see in ArtStudio at that point, and it's a collaborative whiteboard, so anybody that's looking at that sketch can draw on it at the same time. There's an activity feed in the bottom right hand corner. This shows chat messages and also shared sketches and shared views. There's a very simple tutorial in the top right hand corner that explains how to move the camera around for beginner users. There's a help button that lets you get in touch with us straight away. We respond pretty quickly. And over on the left hand side there's a menu so that you can easily find all of the models in this studio room. Alright, that's it for the tutorial. Let's give it a whirl. So opening the menu, we can see some of the models. So maybe I want to have a look at this other model here. Here's my model, and panning around it, it looks great. Now I'm just going to open another web browser and go to this same model so that you can see what it's like when two users are in the same space at once. So I'm an anonymous Uguisu in my incognito browser, and over here I'm Gwilym Jan. Now I can see the anonymous Uguisu, so anybody else who's in the studio appears for me, and as I move my camera around you'll see me moving from the point of view of this user in this space. Now I'm going to imagine that over here I'm just following the presenter, so I'm going to turn on follow, and any shared views are going to pop up for me. Now the last shared view in this room was of this project called Bricks, and it'll automatically follow that shared view. So over here I'm going to pick a view of my model. I'm going to zoom right in on one of these little components down here and click Share View. Now because I'm following as this user, it's going to detect that someone's shared a view in the room and immediately move back over to that project and match this same view. So this lets students, you never have to turn on or off screen share. Just whenever someone shares a view, everybody who's following will jump to it straight away. So you can see now we're looking at the same thing. Maybe I want to talk about a different component. This one over here looks pretty interesting. I'm going to hit Share View, and it'll get matched by my guest over here. Maybe I want to share a sketch of this component. I want to change the design slightly. I can share a sketch. It'll automatically open for anybody who's following, and then I can start saying, well, okay, maybe we want to fillet this off, and you'll see that that's updating live for my user over here. And the user over here can also say sketch on things, and it'll show up for anyone else in the shared sketch. These shared sketches are also accessible from the activity feed, so I'm just going to zoom out to a different part of the model here and share another view to show you what happens for connected users. It'll automatically close that sketch, move over to my view. But if we've lost something and want to return to it later, you can open the activity feed and you can always jump back in. So you can, as a student, go back and review any comments that might have been made on your work within a tutorial session. One of the best things about Art Studio we've found is that it's more engaging than screen sharing, because even when I'm following views, I'm able to move around and look in this kind of like model or this space myself. And yet if the presenter wants to show me something and they hit shared view, I'm able to really quickly jump to that as well. So it means that you can follow on with a particular narrative or story from the presenter while still being able to look around at other things that are being communicated by the project, which makes it much more useful as a sort of a design discussion tool. Okay, I'm going to show you how to get working with Art Studio. So if you go to art.studio/download, you can download our Rhino plugin, which lets you publish your Rhino models to the web with one click. So you download for Windows or Mac, whichever platform you're running on. I'm going to download for Windows. Downloads the Publisher plugin. You install this one. I'm going to choose just for me. It'll install for any versions of Rhino, and that's it. We're good to go. So over here in Rhino, I've got my project set up. Works in any units, any scale. This is just sort of a demo tutorial scene that I have here. To view this in Art Studio, we can type publish. Art Studio will make a file which can be uploaded to the web and viewed in any web browser. And here we are, we can see my project with some basic materials set up in the browser. We can change some simple things, like we can change sun angles, which is really nice for just doing some basic shadow studies. And we can change the background color of the project so that we can control these types of things if we want to. Okay, let's try another quick demo. If we use the Rhino Picture command, this lets us place images directly into our Rhino model. So we can make pin-ups or basically produce any sort of presentation of 2D content that we like really quickly without needing to use any new software or new tools. So I've got an image in here. I might place another one in just of concrete texture. Gonna move them, put them next to one another. And so now we have a really, really simple 2D presentation. You could imagine these being panels of drawings or whatever you like. You can type publish again. It'll do the same export. And now we see our 2D drawings. Double clicking on a drawing aligns our camera to it so that it's perpendicular to the drawing. And then you can pan around as if this was a 2D canvas, so it's nice and easy to use. Okay, to get this online so that you can share this with somebody else, you click on the share button down in the bottom right hand corner here. You give your model whatever name you want, and then you push it to a room. So this might be the name of your studio or your tutorial group. You click next, click proceed, and then your model uploads. So this all happens asynchronously, which means that students can upload models when they want, and then they can share this link with anyone that they like. The rooms are public to anyone who has the link, but they aren't searchable. So this is how you make your rooms private, just by not sharing the link with anyone. So if I click go to room, it'll load up my model and will now be in a shared environment that anyone can visit. Hi, this is going to be a short video showing you how to save views ahead of time and build simple animations of your project using the new timeline editor in Art Studio. So I've got a simple demo model set up here. It has a few images in it, which if we double click on, we'll be able to frame up in our Art Studio camera. And it's got some models. It's generally just got a few things floating around. Now, if we want to create a presentation from this project ahead of time, we can go through and create save views of this model using the timeline editor. You have to be signed in and looking at a model that you own in order for the timeline editor to appear up here in the title bar of Art Studio. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this to open the editor. Using the timeline editor is really simple. What we do is we create slides from the current view of our model. So let's say we want to create one of this image, and I'm going to zoom in to make it full screen. if we click Add Slide from View, we're going to create this slide from this view here. Then maybe we want to move over and frame this image in our view. Going to hit Add Slide from View for this one as well. Then maybe we want to zoom out to show several images at once. And then maybe we want to zoom in on an image, and we can even view that image in 3D just as a funky effect. So I've got these 4 slides now. If I want to change the order of them, I can. We can drag and drop them around, and we can name these slides so that you can remember what they are for later. So for instance, maybe we can call this one Hero Image. This one might be called Photograph. This one might be called Panel. Okay, the other thing that we can do is if I click Next Slide now, we can preview our presentation just by stepping through one by one to make sure everything looks how we want it. And we can change the transition time between each one of these different slides. So if we click where it says 2 seconds, we get a little slider, and we can change the amount of time that our camera will take to move to that particular image. So I'm going to leave the transition time for the first slide as being quite short, maybe about 1 second. And then the second slide, we'll make that a slow transition. And the zoom out could be quite quick. And then maybe this zoom in is quite slow. And we can hit play to preview what that is. So we get a quick transition, and then a slow pan to this image. We get a quick zoom out, and then a slow pan into this image. Okay, then let's jump out, and maybe we want to frame up a view of our project over here. Add a slide from that view, and then maybe we want to zoom in on this part of the model here. And we can use our middle mouse button to look around the model if we want to. So I'm going to frame up this view, and then let's move in and look up at the model. Add that view. So I'm going to make this transition pretty quick and this last transition really, really slow. And then maybe our last model or view is to sort of zoom out and see this in isometric. And that can also be quite slow. So we've got our presentation set up now ahead of time. If we want to present this presentation and share it with everybody else in our room, all we have to do is turn on the Share Presentation button. So if this isn't turned on, you're just getting a preview of the slides. As soon as you turn it on and click Share Presentation, whenever you move to the next slide, it's going to share this slide just like if you clicked Share View. So you don't need to click Share View anymore. You can just click Next to move between really specific views of your project. And you'll see these are automatically being shared down here now. This should let you create like quite specific focused views of, say, interiors of your project, which might be tricky to frame up you know, in real time on the fly. But when you've got a bit of time before your presentation, you can get those views exactly right. The other thing that you can do with the timeline editor is it gives you a lot more flexibility with how you imagine maybe laying out your project. So you can move your drawings and your models, you know, spatially quite far apart, and know that you can always jump between them very, very easily by saving views of them ahead of time. The timeline editor is saved, so if you come back to your model, it'll still be there and reloaded, and you can always go through and edit it later. You can remove slides if you don't like them, or add more slides in and just drag them around to reorder them. What you'll be able to do by the end of semester is you'll be able to send somebody a link to play an automated presentation of your whole project. So even if you aren't there to click share view, just by sending someone a URL, they'll be able to see your presentation as if you were actually giving it. So you'll be able to share these really nice animations of your project with anyone to create a sort of a public exhibition. It should be really nice.